All right, what's up, Mortgage Coach community? I'm always super excited about who I interview, but I really am excited about this one because it is different. Most of the time I'm interviewing top producing loan officers. Sometimes it's authors, but mainly like sales leaders. Although Jelaire is a sales leader because she is someone that actually gets mortgage professionals to use their sales and marketing technology at scale. So, Jelaire, we've talked in person. Thank you for having me at your sales rally this year.
Yeah, it was
Uh,
great to have you.
yeah, no, you're doing amazing things. Jelaire is with Prosperity Home Loans. Now, I know you lead in the way I think about it is market tech
Yep.
for, is it the distributed retail team? So the loan officers that are local focused on purchase, is that the division that
Yes.
you lead?
Yep.
And how many total loan officers and how many total managers?
Probably about 60 to 70 sales leaders and somewhere between 400 and 450 loan officers.
Okay, and when you say sales leader, just so everyone connects the dot, that's a branch manager.
Yeah.
What what percentage of them are producing branch managers, do you think?
Not a large group. It's a small group. There's probably, I'd say, maybe 10 out of that group that are producing managers. It's not a big group.
Got it. So a lot of non-producing branch managers. Good to distinguish that. I wanted to have this conversation because Prosperity has always been a great client of ours. They've always had good adoption of our platform, but it's gone from good to great. Like they have done some things, we have done some things that I don't know, would it be over exaggerating to say like explosive growth and adoption?
Yeah. It's been fun to watch for sure in a short period of time. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's unpack that. And before we unpack it, I do want to set the table, guys. We're recording this a month after Rocket acquired Mr. Cooper. I do think for any leader of a group of modern local mortgage professionals, it's time to elevate, and not only elevate because servicers and lenders like Rocket are getting more aggressive, but there's a lot of loan officers that are local originators in your market that are upgrading. They are using their tech stack in best practice ways. So it's never been more important to elevate your team. And I do think the strategy of working with your leaders and your managers directly is the way to go. We call it the Coach the Coaches program. So why don't you describe what you guys are doing and what has created this breakthrough?
Yeah, so just the quick backstory is in 2023, we looked at our tech stack and we realized that we had great numbers, but we had plateaued. So we weren't really moving the needle very much. And we wanted to try to push for more, better numbers, better adoption, better engagement. And we sat down with our executive team, so our CEO and our divisionals and just a bunch of our executive team, and we said, what can we do here? And ultimately, what we determined was it needs to be top down, not bottom up. And that is the approach we took moving into 2024. We had three very specific initiatives in 2024. And at the end of that year, I sat down with every single sales leader and I got their take. Like, how did you like it? How did you feel about these initiatives? Did they help your team? What are you looking for as we move into 2025? And by bringing in our leadership, our executive team, our sales leaders, and having them be the ones that lead instead of my team being the ones that lead, that was truly the game changer. Now it's a culture shift. It took a lot of time to get the sales leaders where we wanted them so that they could be the experts in those tech stack spaces, right? In our different pieces of technology. But then once we got them there, they became the thought leaders there. They became the ones that were championing the tech stack. And it trickled down to the loan officers. So when we had these meetings at the end of 2024, one of the things that our sales leaders said to us was, we loved 2024. We saw a tremendous amount of growth across the entire tech stack, but we want to meet the loan officers where they're at. And I think when we roll out a new product, we tend to train to the masses instead of meeting people where they are. And I think training to the masses is good when you're introducing something for the very first time. But then once that's done, you have to be able to roll up your sleeves. And by you, I mean my team, and say, how can we drive adoption? How can we get them in there so that they can see the value of the tool? And what we ended up doing was small groups, very intentional, and we wanted to make sure that the loan officers felt like they had a space where they could actually learn how to use that specific tool. And we started it with Mortgage Coach and with Trust Engine, right? Those are the two platforms we picked to start this sort of initiative moving into 2025. And it's been a total game changer.
And why do you think Trust Engine and Mortgage Coach are important right now in 2025? What was kind of the why? Why do you even have us in your tech stack?
Yeah, so, it's interesting. Right now, we're putting together a bunch of power user panels, right? This is phase two of training inside of Mortgage Coach. And as I sit down and talk to the power users here at PHM, I'm asking them why they're using it. Why are they the power user, right? What made them love the technology and adopt it? And the theme throughout all of their answers is it sets me apart. It gives me a tool that I can put in front of my clients that is different. It's unique, and I can bring my own spin to it. I can put a video in there because I love video. We love video here at PHM. I can sit down and easily explain to my clients the scenarios that they have in front of them. I can adjust when they need to adjust, and we can do this together. And it's made the conversations with my clients so much easier. It's made it more personable. It's made it more intentional. And so I, we're always looking for a way to better serve our customers. We're always looking for a way to meet our customers where they are, and for them to easily understand this huge undertaking that they're about to go through. And I think Mortgage Coach does that for us. It allows the loan officer to put their own spin on something so they can still keep it within their brand, who they are, but it also allows our customers to easily understand what's going to happen, what those next steps are, and what their options are.
Love that. And from a data perspective, guys, anybody watch this? We have lots of case studies that the mortgage coach loan officer versus the non-mortgage coach loan officer will convert 10% more of their credit reports into funded loans, and they have less concessions and higher gross margin to the tune of more than 10 basis points. So there's a lot of, hey, loan officers want it, it differentiates, but it improves conversion, improves profitability. Now let's just break down the whole thing. So first of all, in order for this to work, the C-suite, the head of production needs to believe that this is an important initiative, and then they need to get the regionals behind this.
Yep.
And then together from C to regional, hey, branch managers, this is the why. And
Yep.
and the why has to be pretty tangible. I know with some of our clients, they break down the math. It's like, hey, we've got 10% of our loan officers using Mortgage Coach. If we had 50, this is what it would mean to production. This is
Yep.
what it would mean to profits. What was some of the why as you were getting sales leaders slash branch managers to buy in? How did you present it to them? What was the why?
Yeah, so when we sat down with the sales leaders, we actually put the sales leaders through the same training we would put our loan officers through, right? We want them to see it through their eyes so that when it's time for them to become the champion, they can, right? It's not surface level. I think that's really, really important. Sometimes we'd say, oh, here, we've got this new tool, this is what it does. And then we hope that they will become a champion for us, but it's really important for them to be able to roll up their sleeves, get into it, understand it. And then there, at that point, right, they have become the loan officer. We tried this out last year with a bunch of different pieces of our tech stack, and it actually worked in our favor for our sales leaders to roll up their sleeves and get into it. And then therefore it translates over into their teams. Um, as far as like the why is concerned, I think every team has a different why. Every team has a different goal. Every sales leader has a different goal. But ultimately, right, we're just looking to bring more clients into the door, right? We're just looking to create that trust factor. It's not necessarily always coming down to numbers and conversion rates. Those are all really important and we want them. But we do like for our sales leaders to come up with goals for their teams to reach. And then we want to support those goals. So it kind of varied throughout, but the running theme throughout the entire process with the sales leaders was this is a tool that's going to be very, very impactful for your entire team. We're going to drive adoption and engagement, and we're looking for 100%. And this is what we need from you in order to get it done. This is what you're going to get from us. This is what we're going to give to your loan officers. This is the support that you will have. What are your goals? How can we help you reach those goals? Where can we meet you? And a lot of people don't take that approach, right? That's a lot of white glove service right there. But it's a lot for us, but at the end, it pays off tenfold.
Yeah, no, agreed. And guys, as you listen to this and you look at what Mortgage Coach does in the way that it delivers unique value, it helps families go from not just a transaction, which is price, speed, and convenience, but it really helps them achieve home ownership with financial freedom. And so it really needs to become a like this will rocket proof your sales force if you're using data insights to identify who needs a loan, which they are a great trust engine client that uses our full suite of both, data and coaching advice. So you got to use data. And part of what we're doing here at Mortgage Coach is how do we use that data to automate the creation of the TCA? And then how do we integrate with the loan manufacturing technology, the LOS, the pricing engine? The more you can integrate, the better. There's kind of an it book going around the mortgage business right now. I don't know. Have you heard of the let them theory?
I have. I've not read it, but I've heard of it.
Anyways, Shop Benoshian, number one loan officer in the country, was recommending it. Shayla Gifford, one of the top producers at Guild, is evangelizing it and teaching it. But chapter 14 it's all about motivating other people to change. And chapter 14 is people only change when they feel like it. And then chapter 15 is unlock the power of influence. And I'm listening to the audiobook and the whole unpack the power of influence. It's basically saying like when you're pushing people, they're not as likely to do things, but when you're leading by example,
Yep.
like you're leading by example. And so I would just make a message for branch managers, especially producing branch managers. The best way to affect change with your team is to lead, like to
Yep.
adopt your company's tech stack and adopt what are the best practices. And then people will be attracted to you. They'll be following. And and
Yes.
then and then measurement. So I want to
Yep.
remind everybody we have a branch manager scorecard where loan officers, if you're a branch manager, you log into that scorecard and it shows you a scorecard of who's using Mortgage Coach and who's one, two, and three. If you're a regional, you log in, you're a region. How important do you think scorecarding and measuring is to like call it this adoption optimization loop?
So important. I think more important than any Excel spreadsheet will ever be. Like if you can scorecard it, I mean, we scorecard our entire tech stack for our sales leaders. They get a grade every month, compared to the company, where the company sits, how their team compares. Each loan officer gets a grade. They love a scorecard. They love it because they don't want to be at the bottom of it. So
Right?
there's something to be said for that competitive nature. And we didn't always use scorecarding. That was an evolution over the past year, but we've recently introduced it as a whole for our entire tech stack. But I think the more and more vendors that scorecard, you're going to have better adoption, because people they just don't want to be at the bottom, right? And there's something to be said about whether we grade it, it's letter grades as if you were in school. So however which way you want to do it, nobody wants to be the F, right? So scorecards are a great way to push people, nudge them in the right direction.
Yeah, one of the things I'm trying to advocate in the industry to do is to scorecard conversion, credit report to funding,
Yeah,
who are the best converters. And if you want to do it A, B, C, or D, or if you just, hey, loan officers, you know what the biggest scorecard of all is production. Everybody's
yeah,
always like, who's doing the most units? Who's doing the most funding? Where am I at? Uh, Conversion. I am still advocating industry start doing that because at the end of the day, conversion is your sales fitness score. The higher the conversion,
yeah,
the better conversations you're having, the more trust you have,
yeah,
and then also price concessions. The loan officers with the lowest price concessions are having the most effective conversations and creating the most value and differentiation. Okay, so we've got message, scorecard. You did something at your sales rally that I was just like, oh my God, because I speak at a lot of sales rallies and I'm going to start trying to create this intention. So I spoke, I was at main stage, I was able to deliver, I thought an effective hour
yeah,
message, and then it went into lunch. And then after lunch, you had, I think it was like 10 tables with like 10 to 12 people. And at each one of those tables, you had like a mortgage coach power user
yep.
and you had these small group conversations. So, guys, it was magic. But why don't you describe what you were doing, why you were doing? Because I really learned this move from you.
Yeah, so we had two sales rallies this year, and the whole idea behind bringing those people together in smaller groups and having one person sort of lead it was giving an opportunity for them to learn from their peers. So I found when we hit that block in 2023, people were probably tired of listening to me ask them to do things. And so now it's time for us to not only rely on our sales leaders, but to also rely on our power users inside of the tech stack. So that exercise was really just an example of that, right? How do you let's bring people together in small groups. Let's put one, maybe two people who are powerhouses in that particular space at the table. Let them lead a conversation where the other people at the table can pick their brains. They can talk through scenarios. They can talk through how and why, maybe a success story here or there. And we're going to replicate that here, starting in May. We're going to do 6 power user panels. Each panel will have 3 people on it. And, we're really structuring these in a way that they can come in and really speak to how they're using the system and then allow for the group to pick their brain and ask questions. We're going to record all of them so that they'll go into a library. But there's power behind listening to your peers. It's more powerful than them listening to me. I'm not a loan
Yeah.
officer, so I'm not going to bring that value add to the table that their peers are going to bring.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the reasons why I've interviewed loan officers on YouTube for over a decade is because they're going to listen to their peers
Yeah.
and everyone's different. And so that's another thing we're doing here at Trust Engine and our coach to coaches is we're focusing on branch managers. But hey, if there's a top producer that is a power user that's willing to help others, they're a coach. But we're literally like, who are the coaches? And then specifically, how are you coaching them, enabling them, resourcing them with
Yep.
dashboards? Um, and so, it's never been more important to get loan officers. And by the way, everything we're talking here, you could use to get better adoption of your CRM. Everything we're talking here, any type of sales and marketing technology that, like, let's face it, the LOS gets 100% adoption because they can't fund a loan without it. The
Yep.
pricing engine gets 100% adoption. But sales and marketing tech that actually improves profitability and conversion, it's selectively used. And so I would just push everyone, use this coach the coaches platform. So Spencer Schultz here is really leads our coach to coach program and our training program. I told him I was going to be interviewing you, and I said, Spencer, what questions do you have? And he said his first question was, "What's the biggest mistakes company make when rolling out a new piece of technology for their loan officers?"
Rolling it, training it, and then leaving it. So when you roll out a piece of technology for the very first time, you can't roll it train it, expect high adoption, and walk away from it, right? You need to have a great relationship with that vendor so you can continue to push that vendor, they can push you. It's a good collaborative effort. You need to have some sort of schedule where you are refreshing the field, you are focusing in on maybe specific parts of that piece of technology and getting them really good at those parts before you move on to the next parts. Maybe it's phases. You need to look at your data, right? We live off of data. So I'm looking to see who's using what part of the tech stack when they're in that specific piece of technology. What are they using? What are they not using? Where are we low? Who do I need to focus on? This group might need to focus here, but this group might need to focus there. And so I'm never treating all 500 or 450 of our loan officers the same. That data is driving it. And I think what we do is we have a lot of technology and we roll it out, and then we sort of cross our fingers and hope that people will use it. And it's a TLC thing, right? You got to put a lot of TLC into it, and it's you're in it for the long game, not the
Yeah,
short game.
no doubt. And guys, that's the other thing. Anyone listening to this, having a partnership with a vendor like Jelaire and our team talk often. They have meeting rhythms. She pushes us. We share ideas and push like how to get better of adoption. And guys, it's time for tech companies and mortgage companies to do a better job of bringing leadership to loan officers so that they can rocket proof their model. Another question he has is just, in your opinion, what are two or three essential habits of a successful loan officer going forward in the mortgage space?
The first would be know your process. We did an exercise a couple years ago where we picked a handful of loan officers. We did a series of one-on-ones with them, and the whole goal of the one-on-one was to make sure that the technology stack really weaves into their process. What I quickly found out was is most people didn't have a process. They're sort of flying by the seat of their pants and kind of just doing whatever comes up and putting out a fire here, and then maybe they remember to do something here and there wasn't a clear blueprint. And so we worked with those loan officers to come up with that blueprint. And then once the blueprint was set, I could say, oh, well, guess what? In our tech stack, these 5 things can streamline your process, give you a little bit more time back in your day so you can do the things that are on your wish list. So I think knowing what your process is and then being okay with it, being flexible with it, because it's never going to be the same the whole way through, because you change, it changes, the technology changes, is probably the first, right? Like just know what your process is and then use the technology to make it better. The second would be pick 1 or 2 things. Our tech stack has 9 to 10 things in it, right? There's not one, I don't have one loan officer that's good at all 9 things. It's impossible. There's just not enough time in the day. But if you can pick 1 or 2 things and get really good at it, I bet you it'll snowball into other things. I don't bet you, I almost guarantee it will snowball into other things. But that also goes back to that first point, right? And then the last thing is you got to be flexible, right? You've got to be open. A successful loan officer is going to be open to new technology, open to trying things a different way than what they were doing before, right? I get that a lot. Oh, I'm not going to do this because I do it this way and I've been doing it this way for 10 years. Okay, I get that. That's great. Let's try this way and see if it works. And if it doesn't, then we can go back to the drawing board. But I think if you're not going to be flexible and open-minded, eventually the technology is probably going to beat you. And somebody who's adopting it is going to they're going to pull ahead. So know your process, focus on a couple things and get really good at it, and just be flexible, be open-minded, be ready to change.
Yeah. And make sure with technology, one of the things I've always believed that there's how to use the technology, click
Yep.
here, click there,
Yep.
the data input, but then how to talk about the technology, how to,
Yep.
like I'm going to add a strategy right now to the end of this as a podcast before we air it, where I'm going to have Jeremy Forcier, who's doing a really good job of getting first-time home buyers, or excuse me, first-time home sellers. So people that bought their house 3 to 7 years ago, and I talked a little bit about this at your sales rally, but getting them to, you know what? I'm gonna move up. And so while there is a mortgage coach total cost analysis, so there's a technology training within that, but there's also scripting before the technology.
Yep.
And so it's important that we connect with loan officers with both the sales strategy, what do they do before the tech, and then how do they explain the tech,
Yeah.
and then train, you know. So
Yeah.
so any closing thoughts? You know, you're going to have loan officers watching this. You're going to have branch managers. You're going to have other heads of marketing and, you know, mortgage executives. Any closing thoughts you have for the industry?
My closing thought would be more for the folks who sit in my seat is we're small. We're not a large team. Like I'm not rolling with 15 people, right? We're a small group, but we're really intentional and we're really methodical in how we approach our marketing tech stack. And sometimes I'll sit down and talk to people and they're already overwhelmed by the things that we're doing. But my advice to anybody who's trying to drive adoption and increase the engagement and get more out of your tech stack is look at your data, look to see where you're succeeding, where you're falling behind, and be really intentional about that next step that you take. You might not be able to get that leadership buy-in like we were able to do. I consider us very lucky that we were able to do that and really focus top down. But if the data doesn't lie and the data will direct you in the space or in the place that you want to go, so focus on it, look at it, and then come up with a plan to better that, maybe that one piece, right? And I think it will grow eventually. You'll come up with a process, you'll have a cadence of how this will work, but the data doesn't lie. And that's what we start with. And it makes our lives a lot easier to come up with a plan on how to approach adoption.
Well, thank you for being such a good partner to Trust Engine, for being, you know, just sharing,
Yeah.
exactly what you guys are doing and how you're doing it. It's going to make the industry better. I'm going to start putting together both virtually and in-person masterminds with leaders. And my obsession this year as Chief Growth Officer of Trust Engine is LO adoption. You know, when you look at the technology that loan officers have to win, I mean, there's great technology out there, and if they would just use it in best practice ways, uh, they'd be highly competitive. They'd make a lot more money, close a lot more loans in this market, and they would have a great decade ahead. And if they don't, I just think that the most successful local top producers are adopting this technology, and then servicers and companies like Rocket are going to be gaining market share. So it's time to upgrade.
Yep.
What's the best place? Anybody that wants to follow you on social or connect with you, how's the best way for people to
LinkedIn.
stay in touch?
LinkedIn's probably the best spot.
Okay, we'll put a link down below in show notes to that. Thank you so much for being such a great partner and for being so transparent for the industry. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, take care. Take care, everybody. This is a wrap.